friend next door. Hello, this is BJ Stasio for Self-Advocacy in Action, here with today's guests, Jeff Sanderson and Richard Hermanson from Rivershore Incorporated, located in Lewiston, New York. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, BJ, and thank you for having us on today.
Richard.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your job? I find it interesting. Tell the folks a little bit about what you do.
Just to let everybody know what my job is, Assistant for Training Opportunity Development. Basically, what my job is to help Jeff Irwin with any jobs that he foresees that I need to do. Like if Jeff can't go to a meeting, I go in his place. Like I go to one QA and he goes to the other QA, so that training information gets out to the site managers and people that need to hear that they may lose their staff because they haven't come to a training. Stuff like that happens. I also do other stuff for Rivershore. As far as training, I make up all the books for like for all the new training that Rivershore, for all the houses. I prepare I do a lot of copying for Jeff. I do whatever he asks of me, basically, in the training department. And opportunity development is a lot of different types of stuff, like grant writing and helping the agency. Like if they need a new van, I'll be helping the people write the grant, basically.
That's good. So if I ever need help with staff development and training, I know who to call because I have your number. That's good. Thank you. Well, what are some of the things Rivershore has done to support and promote self-advocacy?
Well, one thing I'd like to say, BJ, is that Richard is a little bit modest about the job that he does in our training department, and it's true, everything he said, he does do those things. But to me, the most important thing that Richard does in the training department is he spends time with employees, helping them to gain a new perspective about how we can deliver services. And Richard brings a unique perspective that only he can bring, and that time that he spends in our training department helping new people acclimate to the organization is crucial to our success. And we're very, very happy and pleased to have Richard involved with that. Richard does indeed get involved in helping us look for grants and work on grants, but he also very specifically helps to get new things started for people in their lives that can be supported by the agency. Something recently that Richard and I have been working on, for example, is we're helping to start an action club in the village of Lewiston. And this is a group for people with disabilities who want to give back to their community and do community service and help others. And the Kiwanis Club has graciously agreed to support the Action Club, and Richard has done a lot of work in determining who might be interested in the community and has helped to organize this process up to this point. So we're very excited about that happening in the near future.
That's good. And one of the things I find interesting while going over these questions, your agency has stressed the importance of how your folks are important to the staff. Can you talk a little bit of how Rivershore has achieved that? I find that very interesting.
Well, I think that it's best explained by pointing out that this is something that has developed over a period of many years. And I can't speak to the very beginnings of Rivershore, and Rivershore is 26 years old now, but I can go back at least into 1994 because I know that's when Rivershore developed a very important process, the Rivershore quality process. And the Rivershore agency at the time established a process where it assured that people that receive services from the agency, people who are involved in self-advocating, would be formally included in groups and processes that would make decisions for the agency and how the agency would do what it does, the priorities for the agency, and that was really started then. For me, I'm newer to River Shore. I came a few years ago, and I was very excited to join an organization that had been doing this kind of work. What we hope we're doing now is that we're continuing that and that we're building upon that. And so that's where we stand at this point. When we do things at River Shore, people that we serve and people who are self-advocates are always involved in whatever that might be, and especially in the things that are most important, like the strategic planning that we do that decides what our priorities for the future would be.
Richard, how has that changed for you? I'm just curious.
Well, basically, the agency used to, I'm on their steering committee meeting. They used to basically, a while back, I just started going there, and like couple times I went there, and it was interesting that basically the steering committee wasn't focusing on us, and I refocused them back on us, because I asked them a question. I'm like, this meeting, it's all about, surveys, and they're talking about all that, but what about us? What about self-advocates? What about people that River Shore serves, And they basically took what I said and reorganized the meeting so that it focuses back on us.
That's good. And you guys are involved in the internship. Can we talk a little bit about how you're involved in the internship?
Sure. Really, Richard is the one, as we said earlier, Richard's job involves opportunity development. And so Richard is always looking to see what new things are being developed that might help people to pursue their interests or the things that they want most out of life. And one thing that Richard discovered that was very relevant for him as a person was a new internship program being sponsored by OMRDD. And Richard looked into it, he found out about it, he researched it, and decided to apply to be eligible for the internship. And Richard did that and was able to get his application approved. At some point along the way, you let me know what you were doing, right? And we, and I think that's important about River Shore. People don't have to get approval up front to begin looking into things or developing something. We all talk about what it is we stand for and what it is we're trying to do. And Richard and many other people at the agency have a very good feel for that. And they're not only welcome to pursue things, but encouraged. We hope that people will. And so Richard brought me up to speed on what this was all about. So it sounds great. And Richard has begun the process, right?
Yep.
And the thing that I would say from my vantage point is that it's allowed Richard to be able to expand his work opportunity from what it was. We were employing Richard to a particular degree, and the internship program has allowed for additional work time for Richard, and also some supports that are now available to him because they're funded through the internship program that weren't available previously. So I think it's been a wonderful thing. That's what I could say about it. Richard, I'm not sure what you might say, but
It does help, It gives you an opportunity to learn different skills, like making sure that you show up at work and all that. They like you to show up at work, and they like you to do your hours and stuff like that.
Yeah, we all want to show up at work on time because we know how important it is to be on time for work.
Yes.
Trust me. I know that. How are self-advocates involved in the decision making at River Shore?
They're pretty much in the hiring process. They're also involved with different types of groups. There's a leaders group and there's a person on that. And matter of fact, just recently, the board has approved a person being on our board. A person that River Shore services. So that'll be a new, exciting thing.
That's a good follow-up to the next question. That's a good follow-up, thank you. How are they involved in changes on the board? What changes have they made at River Shore with the board, and how has that affected things at River Shore?
Yeah. One thing, BJ, that I would offer to that question is that just the step of bringing a person onto the board of directors who is also served by the agency is a major change for us. A person who will fulfill that role is in the process of being selected, and Richard worked on a team of people that developed a process for that very purpose. And one thing that I would point out is I was very impressed with the way Richard and the rest of the team approached this task. They came to myself and board members and asked, they said, well, how do you go about selecting someone for the board of directors? And so we shared with Richard and the rest of the team what that process was. But frankly, the process wasn't particularly comprehensive. And Richard and his team took that process and they improved it. And they're going to utilize that process, but I think what's also going to happen is the process that they developed is going to influence the general process of the board, because when people saw the process that they developed, they were so impressed with it that I think it's going to be adopted for general use. And so that's one example of how something related to that issue brought about some change. Really, BJ, I think a lot of the change that we anticipate through this development is yet to come, and I'm very excited about the prospect of that.
What have been some of the benefits of having Richard on the interviewing team?
Well, Richard certainly has been very, very active in helping us to select people for the agency. I think it'd be important to point out that many other people that we provide services to at River Shore have also been very involved. And what we try to do as much as we possibly can, and I think we do this to a pretty good extent, is that if a person is going to be receiving services from a particular employee who's being hired, we want that person to meet them and give input or participate in the decision making with respect to whether or not we hire that person. Richard has been involved in a lot of the hires that we've made, and a couple of more recent ones that come to mind for me was an MSc coordinator or supervisor position. Our human resource director, Richard, was involved in the hiring of that person. I think our payroll clerk, Richard, was involved in the hiring of. So we don't.
And also the Joanne's old job.
Yep. When our accounts receivable person moved on to a new job, Richard helped with the team that recruited a person for that. I think it's important to mention some of those particular instances because we don't limit this activity to particular jobs or roles. Anytime we hire anybody at River Shore, we involve people that receive services in that process because we think that everybody plays a very important role, and we need the perspective of people who are served by the agency whenever we make a hire.
Richard, how is it for you being involved in that process?
I enjoy it. You get to know kind of people that are actually going to work for the agency, and you get to pick and choose. Like, you get this actually, your opinion counts. That's what I really like about it, in the process. That, like when you actually say you don't like that person, and the other people that are in the group actually appreciate you telling them, like, what your opinion of them is.
That's good. Because I'd like to do some of that hopefully someday. Rich, I'm going to put you on the spot now. I hope you don't mind. This next question is about your favorite subject, I know, because we've talked about it at great length, self-determination. I'm going to ask you what it is and what you're doing with it.
Okay. I'm doing something different than your normal CSS plan. I'm not doing that route. I'm going through River Shore, and the process has already begun. I'm already doing the self-determination side of River Shore. And matter of fact, I'm the only person in Niagara County that's actually doing it. I'm hoping that other agencies, hear that I'm doing it, maybe they'll open up the doors for other agencies to do it. Matter of fact, River Shore has taken upon themselves to actually try to service people in that kind of matter, so that it's not just Richard Hermanson doing it, the whole entire agency can do it.
What are you doing? What are you exactly doing for your self-determination plan?
I'm actually going to be going to computer classes because part of my job is dealing with a computer, so my skills aren't, that great, but I'm hoping that go to computer class and improve it will help me in my job too, which the rest of staff get to take me to typing classes and stuff.
Oh, I'm sure they love that. Maybe you could teach them how to type. And maybe I'll take some lessons from you because one-handed typing is difficult, trust me. I
Yeah,
know.
I do some of that sometimes too. When I get nervous, sometimes I don't type.
Yeah. What are some of the things you've both learned along the way from each other? I'm just curious. With this whole process working together.
Well, for me, I'm learning something every day, BJ, and I've learned a lot from working with Richard. I think what I would say comes to mind most is in working with Richard, I've really learned not to prejudge situations as to what's possible. It seems like on any given day, Richard might, come into my office or I might go into his office, and we talk with each other and something new emerges. So it's great working with Rich because we're always creating something that maybe we haven't done before. So when I get up in the morning and get ready to go to work, I say, I wonder what new thing might happen today. And if I see Richard, I know there's a good chance something new is going to come up. And we try not to say we can't do something. We just get an idea and we look into it and see if we can make it happen. And what's happened in working with Rich is we've been able to make a lot of things happen that have been very exciting, and we've really enjoyed doing that.
And I really enjoy his open door policy. I really appreciate that. Able to go to him and share stuff. Because not normally every agency has a director that open that you can go and talk to them. Some people are scared of their directors. Don't be scared of your directors, They're there to serve you, to work with you, and some of the stuff that I've been doing with him, people should take that and run with it. They can do it too.
That's good. I hope everybody's listening to that. What are some of the barriers you've run into, and how have you overcome them? For any problems you've had in the agency.
Well, some of my barriers has nothing to do with the agency. It's really temptation. That's a major issue for just self-advocacy itself, because we're relying on someone that works a 40-hour job, and after they're done with their process of working, they get to work with us after they're done with their 40-hour job. So possibly in the future, I'd like to see the self-advocacy group actually get their own van and possibly drive their own van too.
Transportation is a real big issue. Hopefully someday all the agencies will have their own vans and can take self-advocates to all the meetings, all the regional meetings, and all that stuff. So hopefully we can all get that ironed out, because that's a real big issue. What are some of the things you're proud of that you've really done?
Well, one thing that we're very proud of at Rivershore that recently occurred last April, it's been almost a year now, we opened a self-advocacy center at the agency. And Richard was very instrumental in this coming to be, because I think this is something in some form that had been thought about or discussed for some period of time. The self-advocates as an organized group really didn't have a suitable place to do their business, to produce information, to receive information, to meet and to work, and to get the business of self-advocacy done. So we were very, very pleased and excited to be able to create a space for that at the early part of last year. And we were fortunate too to be able to create that space in a really good location for the self-advocacy group. It's very visible. It's in the very front of our agency. People see the center whenever they come to the agency. They have a storefront window which allows for public display of information, self-advocacy information as you might expect, and I feel it's gone very well. That's how it appears to me, and I'm not sure what Richard would say, but you know, I'll let him tell you what he thinks about it.
I think it's a tremendous thing that when our old director retired, they opened up the doors for us to actually be in the old director's office. So I think that's pretty neat. That Jeff Sanderson said, well, he'll stay in his office and then he'll allow us to be in the director's office as a self-advocacy office.
Well, what are some of the ways you would like to see the self-advocates and the agency work together?
Well, just recently we were making goals for the new year, and what I would like to see, and what I've asked the self-advocates to do, is to challenge us as an agency to get better and to make changes that the self-advocates would like to see. So it's up to the self-advocates to determine what their priorities are and to set goals and to decide how they're going to spend their time and energy. I try not to get involved with that. I don't think that I should, but I want to be supportive, and I also want to invite the self-advocates to challenge us. Don't let us off easy, because we have a lot of things that we still need to do, and we need to get better in a lot of ways, and I don't want to be let off the hook on that. So that's how I would like us to work together.
As a self-advocate of River Shores Road Runners Group, I like to challenge the agency in really not like in my program, but the other programs, like making sure that the staff don't have to do everything for us. Let us be more independent. Give us, you know, our dues of trying to do it ourselves. I know some of the houses have actually allowed people that live there actually have their meds in their rooms. I think that's just a good thing, and I'd like to see more stuff like that happen.
Are there any upcoming activities you might like to talk about, might like to mention, so people know they're coming up and can come out to participate in it?
Well, I'm not sure if there's something specific real soon, but Richard, is there anything you would be thinking of?
There's a self-advocacy meeting the first Thursday of the month.
That's good.
Yep, that's held at River Shore on 765 Cayuga Street in Lewiston. Mm-hmm. Earlier I did mention the formation of an action club, and Richard and other self-advocates have been very key in promoting this club to be developed. And although I don't have a date, we do expect that the group will look to do their first community service project sometime in April, and we'll get the word out. I think the first project is going to be helping to clean up the community by going out and picking up litter and things like that and sprucing things up for springtime.
Any final thoughts from both of you for the folks that they're watching?
One of my things is try to do what I'm doing. Get hired by your agency. Actually going through the process of doing self-termination, since I had Jeff Sanderson on my circle, I've been bugged them a little bit to hire me, but it achieved it, you know? They could do it too.
And I like to say, from seeing what you've been doing and being around you for all these many years, you do a great job at what you do, running the regional meeting and watching you develop. You've done a great job.
Thanks.
Any final thoughts from you there?
Well, I think the thing that I would want to add, BJ, is that I think it's important that we don't become complacent. We have a lot of important changes that we need to pursue and undertake. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that would like to do things in their life, and they still don't have as many options or opportunities as they should. We have a lot of work to do, and it's good work, and it's work we enjoy doing. But my message would be, let's not get complacent, and let's really buckle down and really tackle some of the issues that are out in front of us.
Yeah. Like one of the issues I always would like to see, and I know Richard and I have talked about this a great deal, is more support for the advocates to go to the conferences. Like Richard is appropriately wearing one of his self-advocacy conference shirts. Nice touch there.
Actually, board members receive these shirts at the
Yeah.
conference.
But that was a good touch because most of the self-advocates have a hard time with support going to conferences. So that's one of the big pushes, and I would really like to see that. So that's an important touch because without the self-advocates, the conferences really don't go off well.
Yes. And we've certainly tried to be supportive and involved with that. And as you alluded to, Richard has been to many conferences, has been very active in the statewide structure for self-advocacy. Last year, a thing that we did was we partnered with self-advocacy. The self-advocates wanted to send a representative to Albany for the conference in the fall, and we split the cost. River Shore paid half the cost, and the self-advocates paid half the cost through fundraising. And it worked out very well, and the person was able to go and participate. So we look forward to doing more things like that. I would mention too, we also partner with our self-advocates to go and do legislative visits in Albany when those opportunities are there, and we do have a plan to go to a legislative conference in February, on February 12th and 13th. And we'll be there, both people who are administrators at the agency, staff, and people that we serve will be up there at Albany to advocate with our legislators. We'll do the same thing in March, on March 5th.
Well, thank you both for joining us. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Richard. This has been BJ Stasio for Self-Advocacy in Action. Have a great self-advocacy day and a great self-advocacy week.